Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Just want to be able to share quite a few things right now. I'm having a guest on here. Stand by for a minute, and let me put you on mute for a minute, okay? And we'll start from the. Won't be mute, I'll say.
Hey man, I'm logging into StreamYard right now.
All right, man. We'll wait for you. Thank you. So anyway, hey, it's great to be back. Happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving. Just want to be able to share quite a few things. It's been a while. I have an individual right here that we've been talking about as far as this device that I've been utilizing for PTSD. And in this PTSD gig that we're talking about, it's a great opportunity to be able to see things as far as what needs to be reviewed. So the biggest thing I want to be able to say is, look, happy Thanksgiving. Simplify it to everybody else. We have a lot of things that are going on. As you know, the ceasefire is over with. And I have this gentleman coming in there. Okay, sir, you're going to have to turn on your camera. Nice to see you.
There. Sorry about that. Had to use my cheaters there to be able to see what was going on.
No, you're fashionably late. So without further ado, I have the infamous Dr. Stanley. Dr. Stanley,
Good to meet you.
please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself because I haven't shared the goodies yet. All right?
Hey,
So go.
I feel like it's a cliche being the doctor that's running a couple of minutes late. That's just terrible.
That's okay. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Like I said, my name is Jerry Stanley. I'm the Chief Medical Officer of Harvard MedTech. We are a digital therapeutic company that's using virtual reality to support our veteran community dealing with PTSD, anxiety, depression, pain, both acute and chronic, and opioid addiction. So really looking forward for a chance to chat with everybody and have this opportunity for a new perspective.
So, Doc, let me share something with you. I haven't done the podcast broadcast for a bit because I really focus on the content, right? Because everybody does podcast broadcast. But I'll tell you this much, this device right here, this beautiful thing right here, has really enlightened me. I mean, I've had it charged up. Your associates would say, hey, you need a video or no. No, it's good. I've seen it. And I can honestly tell you, we got this and then we got this, the pointer, laser pointer. So I'm sharing all this good literature that we have right here of what it is. But the biggest thing I want people to see is this right here. And do me a favor, put it in the chat where your link is and everything else so that people can see if they really want to pay attention to or interested on that, they can go to the link and do that. So for me, I've learned since having these sessions that it relaxes my mind, it stimulates it, right? The colors are vibrant, right? It really tests your cognitive skills and your motor skills, but it doesn't, it puts you at ease to a point where you're not amped up. And I've done it twice. So I'm looking forward to it, but my wife wants to try it, but I'm like looking at this beautiful piece of machinery, you know?
Perfect. So feel free to let your wife try it. There's no better testimonial than when the boss gets to give it a run.
Trust me. I believe that, correct me if I'm wrong, with today's society of what's going on, right? The threshold of mental health that is at a high level tier, especially with the global scenarios that we're having with what's happening in the Middle East. And especially what we're having right here in the crisis with our current administration. I don't want to get politically correct on this, but we all are suffering from that. You know, and I know. We all do the same. How can you, from a medical standpoint, let's not go from a personal standpoint. What do you think that's important? You know, you've been able to be a pioneer on this. Just share some light on this and give your spiel of what's going on.
Well, I think personally, my perspective is a little bit different. So I'm a third generation family doctor. So I've literally grown up every meal of every day. There was either my dad, my uncle, my grandfather, somebody was always talking about medicine. So I've really just grown up in healthcare. And I've watched this evolution of healthcare from taking care of patients to taking care of diseases or problems, or everyone's now got a specialist, which is really more of a partialist, right? I only take care of your heart. I only take care of your kidneys. I only do your joints. I only do your muscles. I only do your brain. I only do part of your brain, as opposed to taking care of people. Our philosophy at Harvard MedTech is very simple. We want to take care of the whole person. So it sounds a little bit nerdy, but in 1977, a psychiatrist named Dr. George Engel invented the biopsychosocial model, right? He said, hey, you know what? Forever, we've only looked at disease as just being a biomedical problem. You have a problem that can either be fixed with a pill or a surgery. And he said, you know what? People are more than just that. People have emotions. People are social creatures. People have a need to connect with each other. And that's really our philosophy as a company, is how can we create a technology that treats people holistically? So it's not just about a patient that has a illness or has a problem. It's about a patient and their life. And how can I help not only with your pain and your anxiety, but how can I get you sleeping? How can I make you a better husband, a better father, a better wife, a better mother, a better daughter? What are the aspects of how you live in that social circle that you live in that we can support you? And that's, our philosophy is just about holistic care, meeting people where they live. We send the headset to your home. That way you can do it from the comfort of your home. You don't need to go someplace, and let you do it in your time, in your way, so that it's entirely customized to you, because no two people, no two patients are alike.
I like the fact that it comes to your house, because you don't feel that peer pressure of what's going on. And it doesn't become very awkward in front of a healthcare provider and then everything else. So it's like, hey, it's, it's customer service proof. It's hey, you can learn this, you can do this. And it makes you put in some effort into this. Like I got this here, and I said, man, I got to check this out. And my wife says, what is this? And I'm going like, well, it's something that's going to be able to help us out. And as you well know, right, I'm an advocate for veterans and veterans' rights for quite some time. I suffer from chronic PTSD with CPTSD and PTSD itself, combat PTSD. And I've had deep therapy sessions with, group sessions, individual sessions, and I've had this SBG, stellar blockage gallium, SGB injection. Sorry, I'm getting tongue tied. Where they shoot the solution in the back of your neck right here, and it's pretty much, it's like Novocaine. It freezes the brain, resets it, takes the edge off. But a lot of people can't afford it in a lot of that things. But since we're in the age of technology, can you unpack this to a point where how this is more beneficial than all these treatments, and how has this been pretty much, this prototype has been the evolution of people, the clients or patients, to be comfort of their home? Can you unpack that for us, please?
So the principle of what we're using digitally is something called neuroplasticity, which is really just a fancy term for the brain's ability to try to heal itself. Now, we've seen neuroplasticity. Take a stroke patient. We've all seen somebody or known a family member who's had a stroke, and they have to learn to use their hand again, or learn to talk, or learn to swallow. The ability of the brain to form a new pathway is called neuroplastic change. What we've done is used virtual reality to promote neuroplastic change, or that remodeling of the brain digitally. So that instead of having surgery or having to take pills, we're allowing the brain to change itself so that whatever you're dealing with is now down-regulated and downplayed. Excuse me. The concept of neuroplasticity sounds really extravagant. It sounds pretty amazing. The kicker is every one of us experiences the principles of neuroplasticity every day in our life. Question for you. When you and your wife go on a long road trip, do you listen to music or do you listen to books on tape?
Oh, that's a combination. That's a great question. Now, I used to listen to music, but after a while, it got zoned out. Now, when I'm listening to like K-Wave, the Christian channel, something like that, something that's auditorial, it more or less, it changes the dynamics and stimulates it to a point where I'm really paying attention. Not only when I'm paying attention to the road, right? I'm not zoning out, but I'm paying attention to what's going on because it's feeding my brain, So that's what I've been able to do.
And we understand that the brain has a natural ability or a hierarchy of how it perceives signals. But the brain it's like a fixed diameter tube. It can only process so much information at one time. So if you've ever gone to the dentist and they do the Novocaine injection in your gum and they shake your cheek, they're not moving the numbing medicine around. The dentists have known for years. It's called the gate control theory of pain. The brain can only process so much information. So it's going to preferentially choose the higher order signal, which is vibration, over the needle stick. So it's getting two signals. The higher order signal is vibration. So the brain will focus on the vibration of the cheek over the needle stick in the gum. The same way we listen to books on tape in the car. Above that, you get into physiologic cues. Am I tired? Am I thirsty? Do I need to go to the bathroom? Am I hungry? Auditory stimuli come above those physiologic cues. So when we're on those long road trips and we're listening to that radio station or that book on tape or that podcast, what's happening is the auditory stimulation is a higher order signal than being tired, than being thirsty, than needing to use the bathroom. I think a lot of us have had the experience where suddenly it's 4:30 in the morning in Las Vegas and you don't realize you haven't slept, you haven't ate, you haven't had anything to eat or drink. You're like, wow, I'm overstimulated because there's so many auditory, right? All the bells, all the sounds, and all the visual stimuli with the lights that it suppresses our response to being tired and thirsty and hungry. What we're doing with the virtual reality is we're controlling all of your auditory stimuli and all of your visual stimuli so that the other stimuli that your brain's dealing with, think the PTSD, the anxiety, the depression, the pain, all of those symptoms move lower down that chain. So by going to those very high order signals, the brain has the ability to go into a hyper-focused state, and it's no longer fixated on those. And we've done functional MRI studies where you can actually see the thalamus, okay, or part of that limbic brain, that animal part of our brain. That's the control center of our brain, okay? That will actually start slowing down almost immediately from going into the virtual reality, so you're not experiencing those signals. The ability to do this chronically over the course of our 3-month program is where we see that neuroplastic change, where the brain really starts to remodel itself as you start having better meditation, as you start sleeping better, as all of these symptoms start improving. What happens is that pain or that anxiety or that PTSD that you used to live as this thunderous part of your life is now something that's very small and meek that you can manage, because the brain says, I'm much happier if I don't deal with that. And it forms a new pathway, or it really down regulates that. It says, this is no longer such a high priority in my life. I'm going to form a pathway around it. And it's what we call homeostasis, right? The brain wants to form the most homeostatic method forward so that it's happy. It doesn't have to deal with things that are noxious or maladaptive.
So my whole thing, right? So how long of a process does this require for a particular patient or a client? So I looked at the schedule, right? Everybody's different. So what is your recommendation? Can you share that?
So from a recommendation standpoint, we've built the program to be a 3-month program. The rationale behind 3 months is twofold. One, when you look at the data for cognitive behavioral therapy and behavioral change and forming new patterns, that's going to be about a 2.5 to 3 month process to form a new, essentially, behavior. If you look at the data on neuroplasticity that you see from our PM&R friends, they're doing stroke rehabilitation, it takes 10 to 12 weeks for that effect to be permanent. So the fact that we can line both of those up, the vast majority of our patients are going through the program, they're getting their relief they want over the course of 90 days. Now, having said that, and again, you hit on this, no two patients are alike and everyone's different. So the program is built to be a 3-month program. Having said that, there are patients who say they've achieved maximal results in 2 months. Other patients may need 4 or 5, but the vast majority of the patients in the program is really designed around that 3-month program where we're seeing the maximal benefit for everybody that's really under that bell curve.
So, now that people are looking, everybody is pretty much going to social media sites. This is new because I looked up your company. What it is so important now using the power of social media for reaching out to people that, as from a doctor's standpoint, to be able to educate, because I've been an ongoing patient for PTSD for a long time. Started from scratch for like 15 years ago, medication, therapy, and we're doing everything. Now we come to this virtual reality. What can you share with people that are suffering in silence that you can share with them that could be more of a positive outlook from this?
I think for folks that are suffering in silence, the best advice I can give you as a doctor and as a person is don't suffer alone. There's help out there. There are resources out there. That's really our mission, is to be able to reach those patients, reach those people, and be able to help them. If you're already seeing somebody, so take you, for example, you already have, folks that you see and you talk to. We're not meant to replace all of the other services that you have available to you. We're meant to augment and be an additional service too. So there are things with regards to PTSD that virtual reality can never do. Okay. There are certain things that you really do need to talk to somebody. This doesn't replace surgeries. This doesn't replace the need for medications. This is meant to be an augment. So it's a force multiplier. If seeing a really good licensed clinical social worker or psychologist is giving you relief, this is not meant to replace them. This is meant to augment them, so that when it's 10 o'clock at night and you're having a hard time sleeping, you can put on that headset and go to one of our meditative experiences and just relax yourself, turn your mind off, turn off the stress of the day, and get that back to sleep. So this is meant as an entry point. So say you're a little scared of talking to a counselor. Right. Talk to your family doctor, talk to your PCP in the VA facility and say, hey, this is something I want to try. Okay, and you can say, oh, I like this. And there's educational content in there that we've built specifically to help educate people and empower them so that we can all be better consumers of our healthcare, right? Nobody talks about their doctors as being these amazing educators who spend hours and hours of time teaching you. We've built that into the unit so that it's got just some really basic education so that you understand what's going on from a pain standpoint. Depression, anxiety, PTSD, sleep, all of those things are built into the education so that you can then go talk to your PCP. You can go talk to your psychologist and say, hey, what about this? Or how about that? As a way for you to engage in your own healthcare.
Awesome. So if you people like this segment of LinkedIn Perspective, you can share it, like it, tag it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, LinkedIn Live Perspective, and share with people that are, that are interested. And for you, Doc, that's what we're going to be able to do. Once we wrap up the show, I'll just copy and paste it. You can share that as well. And the other factor we talked offline, right? The VA has it, right? So can you unpack that, how you guys, your firm and the people behind stakeholders were able to make that happen?
Yeah, so we have a federal supply schedule number, and we have a service disabled veteran owned small business that we partner with. So we're coast to coast in the VA. So if you have an interest or want to learn more, I have a team of providers that are just clinical educators around the country that work with doctors that want to learn more. We work with your prosthetics department to be able to make this available to you. But this is absolutely a benefit that if your doctor thinks this is part of the right care plan for you, that says, hey, this will help and it's something that you want to partake in, feel free, reach out to your VA provider. There's information on the website that I shared in the link. We would be more than happy to work with you and your PCP or whoever you're seeing within the VA facility so that you can receive this level of support and this benefit for the service that you've done for our country.
So a lot of people don't really get to what's happening, right? And I mean, can you explain, is there any requirements for that? From a clinical standpoint, because people might think it's a video game, but it's not. But here's the thing, it can be, but there's certain requirements, correct?
So within the headset, we've designed and built all of the content for very specific reasons. So it sounds a little bit overly simplistic, but think of the headset as a pantry, right? So we're going to deliver this pantry of digital therapy to you, okay? But in that pantry, we're going to customize what you're doing every week. So you're going to be changing maybe a little bit of education, some meditation, some in the morning, some in the evening. We're going to customize that program to you so that it's no 2 weeks are alike, no two patients are alike, and you're going to get an experience. You may have some folks that just can't stand water. Well, we're not going to make you go swimming with dolphins. Okay. Yeah. You may have a fear of heights. Well, I don't think that really being in a wingsuit over the Pyrenees is probably the best place for us to start you out. We want to really customize that to you. So there are some things that are very much an escape where you may be sitting at your home in, small town Kansas, right? And you can then go see the Pyrenees Mountains. You can walk on a beach in the Maldives. You can actually transport yourself to someplace else. Well, the ability to start exploring the world is immensely powerful for your brain to be able to start engaging in your local world. If you can walk on a beach in the Maldives, what can I do in my community? Right? It allows the brain to say, if I can do this, I can do that. And you start setting yourself up for some quick wins. We've already talked about some of the educational content. We've got a lot of different meditative content where if you're anything like me, I'm a terrible meditator. Like I'm horrible at it because my mind wanders, right? My ADHD and OCD starts going nuts and I can't focus long enough to do meditation. But when I do it with the VX therapy, when I'm in that virtual world, all of the auditory and all the visual stimuli have me captivated. So I've got a couple of boys upstairs that are gamers, right? They love their video games. If I put those kids in front of a game or if they're playing something in one of the headsets, they don't eat, drink, sleep, pee, anything, right? They're completely lost to that world, right? I take those same boys out in the yard to rake leaves and they're all tired, they're all thirsty, and they've all got to go to the bathroom, right? The same goes for meditation. When you're completely immersed in video and audio, very simple meditation is done at a really high level. And it's great at getting you to rest and turn off the stress of the day. And then we do have some that are games. And the games are really designed for folks that are experiencing pain, because we know that if we can immerse you and engage you, the brain will move into a hyper-focus state to where you're going to see a 50% reduction in pain that's going to last 2 to 3 hours, whether it's acute or chronic. So if you're having a procedure and you're using this for perioperative pain management, this is a great way if you don't want to be on opioids. If you're on opioids and looking to taper, or you're dealing with fibromyalgia or chronic regional pain syndromes, this is a great way for you to be able to come in and say, look, this is something that can help me, that my provider, my doctors, my care team can use as as that force multiplier for moving me back towards normalcy, moving me back towards that place where I feel operational again.
So one person will say, thank you for sharing this. I'll be talking to my local VA. Can you guys share more about the local VA on this? And so people can understand from the veteran standpoint, can you do that?
As far as, what I've learned in working with the VA, that if you've seen one VA, you've seen one VA. Right. I don't want to sound flippant, but every VA is strikingly unique, and even departments within the VA are strikingly unique. So it's really just finding your primary care provider. If you're seeing a pain doctor, or you're seeing a surgeon, if you're seeing a psychologist or a social worker, those are great places because they really understand, what this is about. There's an immersive department within the VA. You feel free to reach out to them. We work a lot with the VA immersive team and the national leadership. But again, on the website, you feel free to send an inquiry. We're more than happy to help. Like I said, I've got a national team of folks around the country that if you're in, like I said, rural Kansas, we've got people there. If you're in San Diego, we've got people there. We're more than happy to help. So, feel free, let us know how we can help support you. We're really, really passionate about the fact that all of our veterans have done things to support and protect us when we weren't looking. So if there's anything that we can do now to pay that forward and pay that back, that's really an honor and a privilege that we can do for all of you who've served.
So, Doc, do me a favor, just put in the private chat your LinkedIn profile and for your team as well, because I'm sure it's on LinkedIn. I followed it, so people can pay attention to it. And the biggest thing also that I recall, it really benefits the first responders, especially the first responders, because they can deal things in a very private manner without exposing themselves or being ostracized. Correct? And I believe that this is a great opportunity. I mean, I love it. I mean, I love the fact that this thing, and I didn't bring the headset, but I got it's like I feel like I'm a gamer, right? Like one of your kids. Yeah. And I'm in there, but I was doing the archery tests, right? With the balloon.
Isn't that fun?
That is awesome. I mean, it was like making me really focus. And then you have it where you can do it with the headset or with the pointer. And then the pointer, you really have to concentrate and everything. What I've learned about this virtual reality experience is that you're really in your own world and nobody else can judge you on this, because you're having this opportunity of a session to be able to decompress or rethink things, how they're going, because everybody has stressors in their lives. Correct?
Oh, absolutely. And no two stressors are alike, and even if you take the same stress with the same person, we all have good days and bad days, right? So whatever you need on your good days, you probably need a little more of on your bad days.
So as a doctor for mental health, how much, and you can share this, so how high of a level are we at with mental crisis compared to a couple of years ago? Let's say 6 months ago, a year ago, or we can go from COVID. What do you think? What's your assessment? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
Well, the hard part with that is I think we've always had a quiet crisis. I think COVID has done a pretty good job about getting us to open up and talk about it. So, I've looked at a lot of different statistics pre-COVID, post-COVID. I think that the crisis has clearly gotten worse because of and post-pandemic. But I
Mhm.
think one of the blessings of the pandemic was it's lowered our threshold for seeking help and for talking about it. You had a podcast where one of your members were talking about the scars that can't be seen.
Correct.
And those scars that can't be seen for years, we didn't talk about. It was keep a stiff upper lip, suck it up. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
Correct.
That's not a great philosophy moving forward. I mean, we really need to understand that sometimes those scars you can't see, they cut a whole lot deeper than the scars you can see. So, I think we have an absolute crisis. I think, we've just come out of a pandemic. Well, I think we have an epidemic of mental illness.
Yes, we do.
Because we're just not talking about it. And when we do, sometimes we pay a lip service. So going to see a counselor shouldn't be something that makes you broken. Any more than if somebody has cancer, we don't say you're broken for seeing an oncologist. Well, why would we say somebody's broken for going to fix a scar that we can't see?
Well, here's the thing, Doc. People, when they see people like PTSD, it's like broken, right? And I embrace it because we're broken in a sense, but we're still functional because we see things differently. We understand things differently, and we've experienced differently when we approach things that people think it's normal, but it's not. And then I see it as too much pride. I'm good. I'm solid. I don't need any help. But deep down inside, they're dying because they feel that they're showing a sign of weakness. They feel like they don't have any guidance. They feel that they failed in their lives. And people don't understand that today's society, especially with the high rise of suicide, and especially, correct me, you got some kids that are gamers, right? And you as a father as well. Here's the other thing. Peer pressure on social media is at a high level rise because kids are not understanding the dynamics of reality versus social media. And don't you think that affects their mental health?
Oh, it absolutely does. Foundation. I mean, take, our generation, we're similar age. If somebody's going to be a bully, they had to be a bully to you, right? And then you learn how to stand up to the bully by standing up to the bully. Nowadays, they can do it in a nameless, faceless way from their bedroom, taunting you in your bedroom with everybody watching. And it's that group think. It's that group mentality, right? Who's got your back? If you're alone in your room and getting made fun of by a group of people, because the group think is follow the cool, follow the funny. Well, it's not quite so funny when you start seeing people get hurt. And foundationally, my opinion is we've developed a culture where everyone is comparing themselves to somebody else. If you're looking at somebody else's best day this year and you've got 350 people, you're going to see 350 people's best days on different days.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you had one great day doesn't mean that you're any worse than anyone else, but we're constantly comparing. We've created a need for immediate connection, immediate connectivity, where we're comparing ourselves to people that, it's not necessarily real. If we're comparing ourselves to fiction, like I make my kids work in the yard, I make them play. Like we have limits on all of their screen time specifically for them. They're not allowed to be connected because we don't want that cyberbullying, even though it happens. You can try to protect your kids all you want, but it's going to happen. That's that quiet epidemic. That's where when we're helping treat people, it's the ability to say, look, you need to talk about this. You need to put these out on the table so that, your care providers, your care team, your family doctor, your psychologist, everybody has the tools to really help you and heal you as an individual.
You as a father, right? What do you learn? What have you learned from your kids in today's generation? It's all about communication, right? Generation gap. You know how we were growing. Oh, you can't relate to me. That was far gone. We're living in a totally different world where everything is, synthetic. AI is involved. Can you just share that from a father's perspective instead of from a clinical perspective. It's very important. People need to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a father, the only thing I wish I knew now was what I thought I knew then. I look back on my parents and I go, man, how did they do road trips without iPods and TVs in the car? Man, they had to actually talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a world it's very artificial. So we make a point of trying to talk to the kids and do things, but I've got a 15-year-old son and he's convinced I don't know anything. And I think when I was 15, I probably did the same thing to my dad.
Yeah.
It's a good friend told me years ago that if you want to have quality time with your kids, you have to put in quantity time. That if you want one good minute, you can't give them a minute, you have to give them 4 hours.
Absolutely.
So we spend a lot of our time, in this family, just trying to spend time, doing dinners, things like that, asking them about high points of their day, low points of their day, encouraging them, that they're supposed to fail at some stuff. They're supposed to stumble, because if they don't fall down, they don't know how to get back up.
I find it very odd that I've even caught myself. I've reduced my screen time down to 50%. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm missing the moments in my life. So I'm too busy looking down, and it's like I have two dogs. They're 10 years old now. A dog's life is not, for each day, it's a week for them, right? So I'm looking at that, and as we're gracefully aging, there's moments in your life that you don't see the moments that embrace the memories. Where on your smartphone, you could always look at it and you're too busy, but you're not paying attention to what the reality is. And then you get disillusioned by everything else. And what happens? You start stressing out because you're not meeting the expectation of today's society. You're not feeling validated. You don't feel a self-worth. That's where the mental crisis is. And for me, I've taken a stand to be able to focus on the quality of life because I put so much quantity in everything else that I need to change that narrative. What do you say about that?
Oh, I'm 100% with you. My wife and I will go on dates and we promise that we're going to put our phones away. But one of us is always checking to make sure there's nothing coming from the babysitter. There's nothing that we need to be mindful of. We're guilty of it. Even the most well-intentioned person, we just live in a very hyper-connected world. I mean, I think the biggest oxymoron in the world is smartphone, because it doesn't make us any smarter. It just gives us more access to information. And I mean, think about the fact that, for all of humankind, the volume of our information doubled every 100 years.
Correct.
Now that volume of that information doubles every year. So now we're all trying to manage this information. Well, my question is, do we need that much information in our day-to-day life? It absolutely helps me as a physician. It helps me with a digital therapeutic company to be able to have access to that, to be able to give the most cutting edge, highest level of information to take care of patients. But does that make me a better father? Does that make me a better husband? Does that make me a better friend, brother, son? I would argue no. The life is lived in the moment.
I agree with you. I've really taken a strong assessment of what's going on. And I really have to go back to the basics of when we were growing up, is really pay attention to the upbringings, the foundations that brought us here to this point in our lives. And this synthetic way of things are very convenient, but it's very detrimental to your health. And I think it's very detrimental to the way you express yourself, articulate, engage, and also develop the skill sets of being a very productive individual, not only in school, but at work, because social media can, chase you away. They can ghost you on a lot of things, and it's not real, and I believe it. And that's why I truly believe that this is a great addition. It's like having a cup of coffee virtually and reassess your life. That's what I say. What do you think?
It's a way to plug in, and you're still engaging the digital world, but for the first time ever, we have the ability to tap into the power of the human mind. I mean, think about the advent of anesthesia for surgery. That was meant so that our brain didn't remember the pain we were experiencing from surgery. We were dissociated from that. A lot of the medicines that we do are to block that. There are people who self-medicate with drugs and alcohol to block sensations. Well, the ability to tap into that potential, to use something digitally that we've all become highly accustomed to, but use that for the power of good. It sounds silly, and I've said this to people before. The ability for the digital therapy or that digital technology, it can be good or it can be bad. It's like Star Wars and the Force. Is it the light side of the Force or the dark side of the Force? I feel like what we've created here is really the first opportunity for it to be used for good. This is the Luke Skywalker side of the Force versus the dark side, which is that rabbit hole that you're going to get drawn into, that you're going to lose time, you're going to lose yourself. The ability to use this for the power of good to help essentially reprogram and help unlock the potential of the human brain. For me, it's very exciting because I get to talk to the patients. I get to see people. I get to have those conversations where they talk about what a life-changing experience this was and how much more they're engaging in their life. And it's not just that the pain is better or the PTSD is better. It's I'm a better me. I'm a better father. I'm a better mother. I'm a better spouse. Those are exciting times when you're using something that, for a lot of us has the potential to be bad, right? The social media, the screen time. But if we use it the right way, okay, the therapeutic way, that's why we call it VX therapy, right? It's virtual therapy, right? It's VX, it's the virtual plus behavioral therapy. It's meant to help. It's meant to heal. So I can talk about this all day because for me, this is exciting. This is bringing the future to the present.
I think people need to know that, and especially in a LinkedIn platform, right? I mean, I'm proud to say that this is the first time we can actually bring something up here that is not very controversial, because everything is by your virtual company, and you as a clinical doctor with generations of medicine and everything can speak to it, right? Facts tell, stories sell. These are facts. And I as myself, I want to be a part of it because truly, for me, I've been through the medication. I've been through the therapy. That's great. Don't get me wrong. That's nothing. Everybody needs it. You need it. There's a reason behind it. But now, when you're at home and you're having a moment, this is right here where this can help you out and be kind of the X factor, not a deal breaker, but more or less to say, I can do this and I'm not too amped up, and I can talk to my wife. I can talk to you and say, this is what I learned versus I escaped going through the smartphone. A lot of people, when they stress out, they have passive aggressive.
Oh, they get right into their phone and
they start responding. Oh, you suck. You do this. Okay, you feel good, but you're talking to a phone. You're not taking accountability for your actions. You're not holding yourself accountable. And in mental health, what I've learned as a patient and as an advocate, you have to learn that there's certain things you need to be accountable for, and it's okay. You got to let go in order to be successful. Correct? You
take the words out of my mouth, man.
I think that for me, relationships, I'm married, I see it at the last third of my life, right? Everybody's just chasing. And here's the thing, and I know mortality rate, mental health, stress kills everyone. The level of stress is the biggest killer than anything, bigger than suicide, in all due respect, drug overdose, alcoholism, car crashes, killed an accident. But stress, people die of aneurysms. There's that stressing. Here's a device that you've been able to do that can maybe prolong your life. It's a wellness center, correct?
But absolutely. I mean, the healthier you are, the more well you are, the more balanced you are. I mean, nothing's going to make you live forever. None of us get out of this life alive, But anything that you can do to help balance and calm and center yourself can only be helpful.
So let me ask you, from a woman's perspective, what does your wife say? She's a mom. What do you say? You got to hear the other side of the coin. What do you think? What do you got?
Well, so she'll let the kids use this for fun. Like, this gets to be a reward for theirs to be able to get into the VX platform and play some games. So she'll use it as a little bit of a carrot to get the kids to behave. I can tell you, my wife, she used to run my medical practice, so she's very, very tuned into healthcare. But she saw firsthand when my mother was passing away from pancreatic cancer, we would use the VX headset to let her sleep. That was the only way we could get her to sleep. So she's seen firsthand the power of this from somebody with a really tremendous amount of acute pain, cancer pain, and what it can do. So I try not to ever speak for my wife because she's much smarter than me.
Just
But
like
it's, yeah. So it's, it's certainly, I know when I hear her talk about it and when I hear her describe it to her family and her friends and her business acquaintances, she's really excited about the fact that, her kids are going to grow up in a world where they don't have to just rely on surgery and drugs. This is the tip of the spear. This is literally the first day in a new journey to unlock the potential of the human brain.
So what can you share with the social media platform like LinkedIn, these professionals? You're a professional like I am, right? But now we're talking about these professionals. What kind of free advice can you give them with this opportunity of this device right here? Oops, I just dropped it. But, share it. I mean, it's important because I think this is the first time we really talked about PTSD, CPT from a virtual reality. And people need to understand this is not fake stuff. This is not like you go into GameStop and buy a video game. This is something more dynamic, right?
Everything in that headset we've designed and created specifically to help people. This isn't something you just buy off the shelf. You can't just go pick up a game. Now you can get distracted in a game. Okay, we've seen that. I've talked about that with my kids, right? That's distraction. That's not neuroplasticity. It's building something specifically to improve the mind. That's neuroplasticity. I don't want anyone to walk away from this thinking that this is for everybody.
Correct.
Certainly, if you need help, get help. If this is a way for you to help access care, absolutely, we want to be part of that. If this is something that you're seeing a psychologist, you're seeing that counselor, and they're helping you, well, this is something that you can do at home at 11 o'clock at night when you can't talk to that counselor. Even the best counselors aren't with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is a tool to help that professional, that doctor, that care provider in your life to be able to be there when they can't be there. So my advice would be, if you think you're a candidate, talk to your provider, chat with him or her and say, hey, is this something that you think will work? It's something I want to try. If it's something you want to try and your provider says, yeah, I think this makes sense, we would be honored to be able to help be a part of your journey back to normalcy. Because that's what we're all seeking, right? When we talk about wellness and balance, it's really just about feeling normal and whole.
Well, after talking to you, but really, you got to be a product of the product to have a testimonial. So I can tell you from me, I'm all in because I firmly believe it. It's not the cure all, but it's better than having nothing. That's better than just sitting there feeling sorry for yourself or having your mind running a mile a minute or, a million miles a minute, having stupid thoughts and not having the opportunity to reach out or utilize medical benefits or this type of platform to be able to say, we have resources, you just got to ask. And, what's the worst thing that can happen? No, but at least you ask. And I think that a lot of people in this platform need to understand they're too focused about the money. They're too focused about the success. Here's my thought process. At the end of the day, your health is your strongest wealth. I don't care how much money you make, right? It's important to make the money to keep the standards. But if your mental, your physical, your spiritual health is at a low level, nothing else matters. And I think today's society, people do not put a priority on it. What have you seen from it, from your medical practice?
Oh, I think it's absolutely that. We talked about cancer. We can talk about appendicitis, and we can talk about all sorts of medical conditions. VX therapy is not going to cure cancer. It's not going to cure appendicitis. It's not going to cure a broken hip. But it's something to help treat the person that has cancer, the person with appendicitis, the person with the broken hip. And it's really getting back to the heart of what you just said. It's not just about what ails us. It's about what heals us. All too often in healthcare, we focus on the disease or the problem. This is an opportunity to focus on the health and the healing. How can we put more health in healthcare, and how can we put more care in healthcare? That's our focus, is treating people where they are and treating people as the person that they are. not as a disease or a body of symptoms or as a medical record number. It's getting people that holistic care that not only they need, but that they deserve.
Well, I really pay attention to what you're talking, pancreatic cancer, right? In that situation. And here's the thing, there's an end of life scenario that you just shared with us, which I really appreciate. But here's the thing, you did something to be able to ease the pain instead of letting the person suffer at the end of the life. How important is that from a mental aspect?
Well, I think it's arguably one of the most important things you can do at somebody at that stage of their life. It's when people get to that place in their life, it's not really about the quantity of days that they have left. It's about the quality of the life and the days that they have left. How do you give people the most quality of life for the days that they have, not the most number of days, right? It's not about winning a race. It's about adding quality, making sure that they're rested so they can see their grandkids, making sure that their pain is addressed so that they don't feel as though they're constantly taking pain meds. It's allowing them to have a little bit of hope, a little bit of rest, and some dignity, in that stage of their life. I think it's absolutely paramount. As a caregiver, that's the single most important thing that we can do for our loved ones in that situation.
I think that's very important because people are losing sight of that because we're all have a certain length of mortality, right? And we have to go through that stage, right? And I what I've learned out of this podcast and talking to you, and especially this device, right? I want to have some dignity in my life. I just want to be able to leave in peace and not be mental anguish. God willing, right? I look at it this way because you're right. Let's face the fact. I accept the fact that we're only here for a short period of time. But at the same time, we all have a purpose. You have a purpose on what you do from a medical standpoint, 3 generations of that, mental health. I have a purpose as far as being a veteran, advocate for veterans' rights, to share that because there's so many people. So that type of legacy that we're both working to collaborate will help us set people up for success and give them an opportunity that they've never heard before because they don't see it. And I believe that on LinkedIn, on this platform where we have so many professionals, over 480 subscribers, 480 million subscribers, right? Everybody is too busy. Okay, business is business, but let's talk about the root cause of your success, which is your overall health, your mental, your physical, your spiritual well-being. That's how you develop a purpose, and that's how you get to a platform. And I'm sure that other patients have reached out to you. They have crises, correct?
Correct. And some crises are bigger than others. But I'm a firm believer that whatever the crisis is in your life is the biggest crisis in your life. This isn't about comparing and contrasting your bad day and my bad day. Your crisis is your crisis. As a doctor, that's what we were trained. It was that the patient in front of you, their problem is their biggest problem. That's why they're there to see you. And we've created this platform, this digital therapeutic platform, that if you're having a bad day, it's there with you. If you're having a good day, it's still there with you. Right? It doesn't go away. It's there with you for the good days, for the bad days. And that's really what we're trying to do is meet people where they are to give them the care that they need and be a part of their care team to support the overall care plan that their medical providers are putting out there.
So the last question, when you're dealing with this type of environment, do you have patients or clients that they have a certain expectation when they have this? Do they, after there's so much literature and there's so much, providers and coaches that's been able to, walk them through the steps. There's always that certain amount of percent that have an expectation. Can you share that with you, or, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I think some people have really high expectations. Other people have really low expectations. After 4 years of treating patients, it's been my experience that the younger cohort doesn't have a very high expectation, but they expect it to work, right? They have an expectation that it's going to work. So they use it as directed, and that's, kind of how they use it. The older cohort of patients, the older population, I think they have a little bit more of a prove it to me, that kind of Missouri show me mentality. Like, so they start out with, I don't know. A little bit, we'll say skeptical out of the gate. So they use it a little bit. They dip their toe in the water before they put their whole foot. But what I found is that they very quickly, because of the novelty and the improvement that they're seeing so quickly, they become tremendous believers and they start using it a lot more. And they start, like you with your wife, they call their spouse over, they call their kids and grandkids, hey, come check out what grandpa's got.
Mhm.
When's the last time you got a treatment from your provider where you wanted to tell the world about it?
I think,
So
yeah,
I've seen really, people that are, high expectations, low expectations. It runs the gamut. Yeah, and it also kind of depends on where you're at in your life. If you're early in your healthcare journey, you may have really high expectations. If you're dealing with chronic pain and you feel like you've been, relegated to the throwaway bucket where there's just no hope for you, you probably don't have as high of expectations because you've been in, I've had talked to patients who feel like they've been let down by the medical community. They don't expect much to work. So when we give them hope and we give them healing, they're blown away that there are still treatments out there for them.
I look at it this way, right? As I was saying, a lot of people, I mean, I see it as I'm a lost words because I'm very excited about it. But the biggest thing that I can tell you is that people are so self-conscious of what other people think or themselves. They don't really humble themselves that there's an opportunity. Like in fighting, once you hit the head, the body goes. It's the same thing with the mental health. The mind goes, the body goes, and that's how it goes. And that people don't understand that. I said, no, I'm good, but my mental state, it doesn't work like that. It's a two-part connection that people kind of forget. And then the reality is when things are not working right, they want to go, but the body's not working. And that's the same thing with mental health, correct?
It's all cyclical. We talked about that biopsychosocial model, right? The body's the bio, the psychological, that's your brain, but the social is how we interact with the world around us. You can take somebody who's got a great mind and a great body, but if you don't let them interact with the world, they're going to feel trapped, right? They want to go into the world, but they can't. To use that boxing, right? You're stuck in the ring. You're stuck in the corner. Like you can't engage. Even if your brain's ready and your body's ready, if you're stuck in the corner for a 10 count, you're there.
Oh, yeah. And I look at it this way. I believe people need to engage that because I believe that people don't want to talk about it, but they're asking for help. People want to get to the famous thing, but in reality, this is so important that people need to understand that. And that's why I'm glad, you took time, and I'm sorry for the delay that we were able to, collaborate and share this. But if you like this segment of LinkedIn Perspective, episode 150, subscribe to the YouTube channel, LinkedIn Live, and you share it and like it and tag it. If you're interested in this type of device, look up Dr. Stanley. That's on the chat, and his, what's the name of the Harvard Med?
Harvard MedTech.
And can you share a little bit about Harvard MedTech? How long it's been around? And real quick, we got a couple minutes, and what can they do for people that have medical providers or things like that? If you don't mind, if that's
absolutely. The company Harvard MedTech's been around for a little over 4 years. We've been treating patients for 3.5 to 4 years now. If you're interested, feel free. Like I said, the website is there. If you have questions, just shoot us at info@harvardmedtech.com. We're happy to connect you with one of our team members around the country that can help support you, talking to your provider, talking to whoever it may be. There's some good videos out there. One of the videos, to go back to what she said, one of the gentlemen said something really profound, where he said, I've always been told that time heals all wounds, but I really don't think it's the time. I think it's what you do at the time that heals those wounds. And, we were very much a part of his journey, getting him back to health. And he's got a really tremendous story to tell that we'd be happy to share with you.
Well, I'm on board with this, Doc. I mean, we'll talk a little bit after the show because I got the product. You guys were nice enough to share that with me. And I believe that people on LinkedIn need to see that I was not talking out of my butt. I got it and I'm using it. So, I'm doing the walk. So what can you share with people in this holiday season? Holiday season is the most stressful, most depressing holiday season. What do you recommend for the people out there that are working? They say I'm good, but they're not. And here's an opportunity for you to share the floor in closing comments.
I think the easiest thing to do is it's a stressful time. People feel lonely. Holidays are a time where we focus on things that we have, things that we don't have, people that we miss, loved ones that we've lost, traumas in our life. It's a cliche, but it's not. It's okay to not be okay. Okay, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say something's not right. If you're at work, or if you're on a mission, or if you're doing something and something isn't right, you need to know. If you see something, say something. Isn't that what we've all been told since 9/11? If you see something, say something. Well, what about in our own personal life? If you see something, say something. If something doesn't feel right, ask for help. The VA facility, it doesn't get a lot of good publicity, but I'll be honest with you, the outcomes out of the Veterans Affairs Hospital are fantastic. It's a tremendous resource. It's a tremendous benefit for everyone who served this great country to be able to have that at their fingertips. So if you're feeling alone, if you're feeling like there's something wrong, reach out, ask for help. That's the journey that we're on. Is wellness and being healthy is not a destination. Okay, like we talked about, nobody gets out of this life alive, but it's a journey. So whatever you can do on that journey to maximize the length of time, the quality of that journey, that's really the part that we want to be a part of.
Well, I can tell you, my birthday's tomorrow. Thank you for the birthday gift for right now.
Happy birthday, man.
I appreciate it, because this is about the best birthday gift I can have. I asked for peace, I got this. So
it's time for another trip around the sun.
So any closing thoughts for you, Doc? Leave people.
I think it's all the veterans out there. I want to say, on behalf of me, on behalf of my family, thank you. We say that on Veterans Day, but I don't think we say it enough the rest of the year. So on behalf of somebody who you protected, who you take care of, my family, thank you. It doesn't get said enough. So in closing, let us know how we can help you, but thank you for helping us.
And thank you, Doc. And for those first responders, law enforcement officers, and firemen, paramedics, this is just for you too, man, because we haven't forgotten about you. A lot of the veteran community has served in that position. So reach out. Check out Dr. Stanley. He's got his LinkedIn profile. I'm sure he's out there with the website. So until next time, Simplify, always beside you. Again, if you like this segment of LinkedIn Perspective, share it, like it. If you like the episode of LinkedIn Perspective 150, subscribe to the YouTube channel, LinkedIn Live, LinkedIn Perspective. As I stated before, I only focus on content, and what a better way to be able to share this type of content right before the holidays. So until then, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Simplify. Stand by, Doc.